guys, so today we're checking out the OPR rear bumper in black fitting all 2005 to 2015 Toyota Tacomas. So if you are in search of a replacement rear bumper for the back end of your truck, whether you've taken damage in a collision, it started to rust, or you're just looking for a little bit of an upgrade for a more finished look on your truck, then this is going to be a great choice. Now this will have a factory style look to it, so if you are a fan of the factory rear bumper look, you're just looking to do a little bit of maintenance, this is going to be right up your alley. Now, not only is this going to have an OEM look, but it's also going to have a factory fit too, meshing very well with the rest of the body panels on the truck. Now, this will be made of a stamped steel construction, being very durable and very similar to the factory one, and will come in an unpainted finish with a black E-coat on top, so you can color match it to the color on your truck. Now, this will also be very straightforward when it comes to the install, considering that you're reusing all of the factory mounting points and all of your factory hardware. Now, what I would like to mention is that this is not going to come with the plastic step pads on top. This is just going to be the bumper cover or the front of that bumper on the rear end of the Tacoma, but it will come with all of the mounting points for your factory license plate lights and the license plate itself. Now, when it comes to price, this will come in at roughly $300, putting this at a pretty affordable price point for an upgraded rear bumper. Now, again, this will be a factory style rear bumper, as to where some other choices on the page, or a lot of other choices on the page, are usually going to take a heavy duty or off-road style approach. Now, when comparing this to other factory style rear bumpers, again, this is going to be made of a stamped steel construction, as to where some other choices may be made of a heavy duty plastic, or they may include these step pads on top, as to where this is just going to be the main portion of the rear bumper. Now, in my opinion, if you don't necessarily need all of those extra bells and whistles that some of those heavy-duty bumpers have to offer, you're just looking for a strong rear bumper to do a little bit of maintenance and create a very finished look on the back end of your Tacoma, then this is going to be a great solution. Now, this is going to be pretty straightforward, but I am going to give it a light 2 out of 3 wrenches on the difficulty meter. It should take you about an hour to get the job done with some pretty basic hand tools. Now, one of our installers here is going to show you how to get this done step by step, so that's going to wrap it up for my review. Let's go ahead and get into the install.
The tools you're going to need for this installation include an electric or regular ratchet, Phillips and flathead screwdrivers, 8 and 10 millimeter sockets, 12 millimeter shallow and deep sockets, 13 millimeter socket, 19 millimeter socket, 12 millimeter and 19 millimeter wrenches, trim removal tool, an impact gun, and lubrication. How's it going, everybody? Today we have a rear bumper we're going to install on our Tacoma, and we previously got the uninstall footage, so we're going to show you that first. Then I'll be back to show you how to install our new bumper step by step.
All right, the first parts of our installation, guys, is we're going to remove this top plastic piece that lays across your top of your factory bumper, as well as the license plate. That's going to give us access to a couple of bolts up top that we're going to have to remove. And then we're going to put our truck up in the air, simply to let you guys have a better view of what we're doing. You by no means need to lift your truck at all to do this installation yourself. So let's go ahead and get started. All right, go ahead and remove your license plate. I'm using an 8 millimeter socket. Your hardware might vary just a little bit. All right, there are 3 pieces of plastic across your top of your bumper. These end caps we're not going to mess with right now. We're going to focus on this long centerpiece. Got a trim removal tool, just get it underneath here. And there are a series of retaining clips in here we're just going to pop out. And do the same thing on the passenger side. All right, there's basically 3 in the front on each side and 4 in the back. Once you have all those popped out, go ahead and take this off. Okay guys, we're gonna remove these 2 bolts here, and there's 2 matching ones on the driver's side. I'm gonna use a 12 millimeter socket for these. Go ahead and repeat that on the driver's side. All right guys, now we're gonna take this bolt out, and there's a matching one on the passenger side. This kind of attaches to this plastic piece. Once we get this out, we're going to be able to pull this down and access another bolt right here that's helping to hold the bumper shell to the frame. I'm using a 10mm socket on this one. All right guys, now go ahead and just bend this plastic down a little bit, and using a 12mm socket, we're going to take this one out. Repeat the removal of those bolts on your passenger side. Now go ahead and come to this one here. I'm using a 13mm socket on this. We might have replaced this bolt at some point in time, so double check the size. You might have a 12 here, but I'm using a 13. And repeating what we just did, you're going to take another bolt out from right here, which we've already done. Before we go any further, we're going to remove the license plate lamp from each side. This is the passenger side one. You can just twist the housing and back the bulb out like that. That's the easiest thing to do. Sometimes these connectors, when they get a lot of sand or dirt grit up in there, they're real hard to separate. So this is really the easiest way to do that. And we're just going to kind of tuck that out of the way, and we'll transfer over the black cased lens over to the new bumper here in a minute. All right, now after you've disconnected the light bulb on the driver's side for your license plate lamp, we brought our truck back down so we could show you the top of the bumper again. Go ahead and pop out these little square tabs right here. You're going to have a lock pin here and one on the other side. It's real tight in there, so a small screwdriver like this is a perfect tool to get in there. And repeat that on the passenger side. All right, with those two pins pulled out, you should be able to just pull this off. Once you get that plastic piece off, guys, there's probably gonna be a lot of dirt and debris in there. I did give it a little wipe off and shot some PB Blaster in here. If you're having difficulty getting these out, it's a good idea to do that. I'm using a 12mm socket to get this. And after you get this one out, repeat on the passenger side. All right, so in order to slide the bumper shell off, we're gonna need to remove these two bolts here. It has nothing to do with the shell. It's not holding the shell on. They're just in our way because we're gonna slide it out like this. So go ahead and grab a 19mm crescent and a 19mm socket. We're gonna back these out. Now this is going to be on there a little snug, guys, so you might have to work it a little bit, especially if there's a lot of dirt and grime built up, maybe even some rust. But at this point, we should be able to get it out.
All right, we're back to install the new bumper, but before we do so, there are a couple parts that we have to take off of our factory bumper in order to transfer them over to our new bumper. One of those parts being the brackets here you can see on either side, and as well as the trim pieces here on either side as well. First, we're going to remove these plastic trim pieces here, and to do that, there's two nuts here that have retaining bolts holding this plastic onto the bumper, and we're going to use our 10mm socket in order to remove these nuts. All right, once you have those nuts off, there is a little plastic push clip here that holds the trim into place. So we just have to maneuver that and squeeze it in order to pull this the rest of the way out of the bumper. All right, once you have that one off, go ahead and repeat the same steps for the other side. With the plastic trim pieces removed, we now have access to all four bolts. holding each of our brackets in, and we're going to use our 10mm socket again to remove these bolts and get these brackets out. So we have 4 bolts, 1, 2, 3, and 4. And that's how you get the bracket out. So for the other side, repeat the same steps. Lastly, on the outside of our bumper, we're gonna have to remove these tag light housings as well as the little plastic retainers that hold them in place. So to remove these, we are gonna use our Phillips head screwdriver. And when I get these out, I'll show you how we're actually gonna get our plastic retainers out as well. So it's 1 screw holding each of these in place. Again, this is a Phillips head screwdriver. And just as a side note, your hardware might look a little different, but once you have the hardware out, pull it out in this direction. And then that reveals our little plastic retaining clip here. And from the back side, you can just squeeze it as it's just tension fitted in. So you can actually push it out from the back. Once you have both those pieces out, repeat the same steps on the other side. Now we have our new bumper up here, and we're gonna transfer the parts over pretty much the reverse order, starting with the little plastic retaining clips that we just took out and our tag light housings. Just push the retaining clip in. And then on your tag light housing here, you might have this little tab right here, which is gonna slide into the bumper first. Line up your hardware with the retaining tab, retaining clip, and secure it down with your Phillips head screwdriver. Once you have this one in place, repeat the same steps for the other side. Now we're going to reinstall our factory brackets using the factory hardware, these 4 bolts that we removed earlier, and our 10mm socket. For our bracket, we're gonna line it up with these holes in the bumper here. 1, 2 at the bottom. This one here on this little lobe here. And then this one here as well. Once you have it lined up, go ahead and put your hardware in by hand, a few threads, and then we'll go ahead and tighten it down with our 10mm socket. Once you have this one in place, you guessed it, repeat the same steps on the other side. Now we're gonna reinstall our 2 plastic trim pieces, the end caps here, and we're gonna use the factory hardware that we removed earlier. The first thing we're gonna do is put our retaining bolts in through the bumper here and loosely secure them with the nuts. All right, so we're gonna install these this way, the flat head on top, and then just put the nut on, just a few threads, so that we can slide our plastic trim piece underneath. All right, so as you can see here, this is where those bolts go. And then once we slide these on here, we're just gonna push this clip right here into this hole here. All right, once you have that secure, put the other one on in the same way, and then we'll flip it over and tighten those nuts down. All right, we flipped the bumper back over and we're gonna tighten down the 4 nuts that are holding on both of our trim pieces. And just be careful not to over tighten as we are clamping down onto plastic. Now that we got all the factory bits back on our new bumper, we can go ahead and set this on our Tacoma and put a couple of the factory bolts through to hold it in place. All right, we have our bumper set up on our bumper brackets here. You can see one on this side, one on the other. So we're gonna just maneuver our bumper around till we have our holes lined up, and 2 of our factory bolts go in on either side. So I'm gonna go ahead and just put all 4 of these bolts in by hand. All right, again, I'm gonna grab my other 2 bolts and put them in on the other side. Now there's 2 more bolt holes here and here. Now we do have a broken off bolt head here, but on yours, you should have one here as well. We'll go ahead and put these in by hand. So, and the reason we're doing this by hand right now is for this reason right here. We might have to maneuver the bumper around a little bit just to get everything lined up. At this point, we're gonna reinstall our middle section plastic trim piece here. So for this, just make sure your tabs go underneath of the bumper, and these tabs are gonna go right here underneath the bumper. All right, once it's in place, all your holes should line up here. Now in these 2 holes here, we're gonna put our plastic push clips back in, and then our little trim pieces on top. So these have tabs on them here. You should be able to see the hole where they slot into on our plastic trim piece. For this one, it's to the left. This one as well. Now we have the Tacoma in the air. Just to give you a better shot of the bolts are going in underneath. You don't have to put it up in the air, but grabbing the hardware and putting 3 of the bolts in on this side here, and then we're gonna do the same thing on the other side. We're on the driver's side underneath our bumper here, and like I said, there's 3 bolts, 1 here. If we lift up our trim piece, 1 here, and then we'll put this back down and put the 3rd one through our trim and into the bumper support. So this is not factory hardware. Just to let you know, this is a 13, but from the factory, most likely a 12mm bolt like this one is. So next we're gonna put in our 12mm here by lifting up the trim piece. And we still do have to shift the bumper just a little bit in order to line up this hole. All right, once we have all our hardware in by hand on both sides, we can go ahead and tighten this down with our tools now that everything is lined up. So again, like I said, I'm using a 13 on this bolt here, but most likely if you're using factory hardware, it's probably a 12. So just like this one, a 12. And this one here is a 10mm. Right, and like I said, we're just gonna repeat the same steps on the other side. We got the Tacoma back down on the ground for you, and next we're gonna put in these big bolts and nuts, which are both 19 mil, so we need a 19 mil socket and a 19 mil wrench for these. And then we're gonna go ahead and tighten down the bolts that we put in by hand previously. To tighten these down, we're using a 19 mil socket and 19 mil wrench. Now we're gonna grab our 12 millimeter socket and tighten down these bolts here that we put in by hand earlier, and we're gonna repeat everything on the other side. And on this side, I'm gonna use a ratcheting wrench as it's a bit hard to get a socket and ratchet underneath of the tailgate here. Now we're gonna go ahead and put our caps back over our hitch receiver bolts, put on our big plastic trim piece here, and secure it down with our 8 millimeter license plate bolts. All right, and with our trim piece, just make sure that all your push clips here on the bottom of the trim line up with the square holes here on our bumper. Next, we're gonna put in our license plate bolts. And for you guys at home, probably wanna make sure your license plate is on at this point as well. And again, we're using an 8 millimeter socket to tighten these down. We have our tag lights that we have to put back into the housings yet, so we're gonna do our best to give you a shot of that right now. So this is our license plate bulb here, and our housing is right around here. I know it's kind of hard to see, but in this general location of my hand is where our socket's gonna go. Once you have it lined up with the tabs, just give it a clockwise twist to lock it in place. Once you have that one in place, make sure you do the same thing on the other side. That's going to wrap up this review and install of the OPR rear bumper in black for our 05 to 15 Tacoma. Thank you for watching, and for all things Tacoma, keep it right here at extremeterrain.com.